The Lily Peters murder case, a criminal complaint unsealed. In April 2022, the small town of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, was shaken by the brutal murder of 10-year-old Lily Peters. The suspect, Carson Peters-Berger, who was 14 years old at the time, is a relative of the victim. He faces charges of first-degree intentional homicide and first-degree sexual assault. The case has garnered significant attention due to the young ages of both the victim and the accused, raising complex legal and ethical questions. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. The criminal complaint reveals a chilling confession from Peters-Berger to investigators. He admitted to planning to rape and kill Lily Peters from the outset. He lured her into the woods under the guise of exploring. The assault was brutal and multifaceted. Peters-Berger punched Lily, then struck her with a stick. He proceeded to strangle her. The complaint further details the horrific act of sexual assault. After the assault, Peters-Berger fled the scene. He showered and washed his clothes in an attempt to conceal evidence. Later, after learning Lily was missing, he returned to the crime scene. His intention was to hide her better. He moved the body and covered it with leaves. Lily Peters' body was discovered the next morning near a trail close to Leinenkugel's brewery. The autopsy revealed the cause of death as strangulation and blunt force trauma. Peters-Berger was arrested 2 days after the murder. A search warrant was executed at a residence owned by Lily's aunt. Peters-Berger and Lily knew each other. Following his arrest, bail was set at $1 million. This high bail reflects the severity of the charges and the community's concern. Initial legal proceedings centered on a critical question: should Peters-Berger be tried as an adult or a juvenile? The decision would significantly impact the potential penalties and the focus of the legal process. The defense argued for a reverse waiver, seeking to move the case to juvenile court. The defense presented several arguments in favor of a reverse waiver. They cited claims of autism and other psychological factors. They emphasized the potential for rehabilitation within the juvenile court system. They also highlighted Peters-Berger's adverse childhood and diagnosed psychological disorders. The prosecution strongly opposed the reverse waiver. They emphasized the severity and premeditation of the crimes. They argued that moving the case to juvenile court would depreciate the seriousness of the offense. The prosecution maintained that the adult court system was the appropriate venue for such heinous acts. Ultimately, the court ruled that the case would remain in adult court. Judge Stephen Gibbs presided over the decision. The Court of Appeals upheld this ruling. The Supreme Court declined to review the case, solidifying the decision. The rationale behind the court's decision was the severity of the crimes. The court determined that the nature of the offense warranted adult court proceedings. This decision set the stage for a potentially lengthy and complex trial. With the case remaining in adult court, the defense faced limited options. They could have appealed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, but ultimately accepted the Court of Appeals ruling. The next step was the arraignment. At the arraignment, Peters-Berger would enter his plea. He had several options: guilty, no contest, not guilty, or not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. The plea would dictate the subsequent course of the legal proceedings. If Peters-Berger pleaded not guilty, a trial would be scheduled. Given the high-profile nature of the case, a motion for a change of venue was possible. The defense might argue that an impartial jury could not be found in Chippewa County. The potential penalties in this case are severe. If convicted, Peters-Berger faces a life sentence. The charges against him are Class A felonies, punishable by life in prison. The stakes are incredibly high for both the defendant and the victim's family. The reverse waiver hearing included testimony from various experts. Their insights provided crucial information for the court's decision. Wisconsin Department of Corrections officials testified about juvenile facilities and programs. Psychologist Michael Caldwell also testified. He stated that Peters-Berger presents with moderate autism. Caldwell suggested that the autism diminishes his capacity to understand the harm he caused. However, he could not assure that the boy wouldn't commit a similar act in the future. Caldwell also noted that the crime had elements of being pre-planned. Despite this, he believed Peters-Berger would be better served in the juvenile system. His testimony highlighted the complexities of assessing culpability in cases involving developmental disorders. Lily Peters was reported missing by her father. Her bike was found along the trail near Leinenkugel's brewery. This discovery immediately raised concerns and triggered a large-scale search. Her body was found the next morning with injuries consistent with blunt force trauma. The scene painted a grim picture of the violence she endured. The discovery intensified the community's grief and outrage. Peters-Berger told detectives that he asked Lily to explore the woods with him. This seemingly innocent invitation masked his sinister intentions. His confession provided a chilling account of the events leading up to the murder. He said it was his intention from when they left the house to rape and kill Peters. This admission revealed the premeditated nature of the crime. It underscored the depravity of his actions. After killing and assaulting her, he got scared, went home, showered, and put his clothes in the laundry. These actions demonstrated an attempt to conceal evidence and evade detection. His efforts to cover his tracks ultimately failed. The next day, when he heard people were searching for her, he went back to the woods, moved her body a few feet, and covered her with leaves. This act further illustrated his callous disregard for Lily's life. It also suggested an attempt to obstruct the investigation. The defense argued that Peters-Berger is not a hardened offender. They claimed he would receive better treatment to fit his needs in juvenile court. They cited his adverse childhood and diagnosed psychological disorders as reasons why. The defense emphasized the potential for rehabilitation within the juvenile system. They argued that Peters-Berger's developmental issues could be better addressed in a therapeutic environment. They hoped to persuade the court that he was capable of change. The prosecution countered that the actions of Peters-Berger were violent and egregious in nature. They argued that moving the case to juvenile court would depreciate the seriousness of the offense. They maintained that the adult court system was the only appropriate venue for such a heinous crime. The prosecution emphasized the need for justice for Lily Peters and her family. They argued that the severity of the crime demanded a severe punishment. They sought to hold Peters-Berger accountable for his actions to the fullest extent of the law. The Lily Peters murder case highlights the complexities of the legal system when dealing with juvenile offenders. It underscores the profound impact of violent crimes on the community. The legal process continues, with the possibility of appeals and a potential trial. Prosecutors are aiming for a trial date in April 2025. The case remains a sensitive and closely watched legal battle. The outcome will have significant implications for the community and the legal system.